this side of town. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 99 The Beat and our new show called The Know. I am your host, Yair L, and your hostess, Navia Mazzado. Welcome to our little world. Get ready, because here we come.
Greetings. Welcome to The Know on 99thebeat.com and TKNN Live. We are also live streaming from YouTube there, and looks like we are clear to go as well. Once again, we want to bring you peace and blessings. I am your co-host, Yair L. the Agreeable.
And I am the hostess, Navia the Disagreeable.
And this is 99 The Beat. I kind of like how that sounds. 99 The Beat.
You know what I've noticed, like on the end of our little theme song?
What's that?
You going, like you was really getting into it. It's really funny.
I was ready to go into the whole Minnie the Moocher thing, you know. Hidey, 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 hidey.
Hidey, 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 hidey.
Odi, 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 oh. Oh, okay.
I kind of cut it off.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so we're today.
Down to business. Yes.
We've got some news. Okay, we've got some more news. Some of the things we're going to be talking about is number one, what the hell is going on in Libya? Okay, with these slave trades and what is going on in Nigeria?
Yes.
That these people are willing to risk it all just to get out of there.
Nigeria or Libya?
Libya is where the slave trade is coming from, but the people are leaving Nigeria and they're being held captive there.
I see.
Okay, and they're all not only just Nigeria, but Senegal and some other places out there. A lot of West Africans. Okay, and they're going into Libya to try to cross the coast and get to Italy.
Wow.
Okay, but it's not working out for them very well. And we're discovering some very disturbing news of what's going on over there.
Interesting.
Also, we want to talk about the recent protests of that Detroit church and how they stormed into that church and pretty much turned it into a brawl because all in all, I guess now's the time that black people are starting to really wake up and get tired of the prosperity churches. And we want to figure out what the heck are these mega churches with these rich pastors really doing for the community.
That's right.
And how long was it going to take us to get to the point where we realized that we were just blowing our money?
Got played.
Okay. And we want to deal with the pimp pastor, you know, or what they say, the pimp in the pulpit type of mentality. And how a lot of us have grown up under that mentality and is actually perpetuating that by teaching our children, you know, the importance of tithes and stuff like that, and not realizing where that money is actually going. And I have some very personal experience that I can share with you guys in actually dealing with clergy and being in that line of work myself. Okay. So what do we want to start with? You want to read that protest?
I think what we should do is because this we can just go on for days and days. You know, we can freestyle it like daylight on this particular topic. I think what we should do is we should probably touch on the topic of Libya first, and then kind of segue into the protest.
Okay, so what I have been discovering is there's a lot of videos that was going around that is viral, these Africans, and they're pretty much discussing the horrors that is taking place under the Libyan government and how they're being sold. You know, if you're a woman, you have been sold into the sex slave industry. They're buying these men to pay off debts. Is that echoing?
Just a little bit.
Okay. They're paying off a debt for smugglers, okay? And the way that they are paying off these debts is by selling them into slavery. Now, I started watching a bunch of documentaries about it and a lot of interviews and, you know, firsthand accounts of the people that this was actually affecting. And what we found out pretty much is that the government in Nigeria is so torn, okay, and so damaged with these militias and regimes that are taking over because since 5 years ago after Gaddafi, everything kind of went down south for them. So these people are actually selling everything that they have. Okay, their parents are selling everything that they have. They're taking their life savings. Sometimes, in some instances, the communities are actually coming together and paying anywhere from £2,000 to £5,000 to try to get these people out of Nigeria into Libya and across over into the Europe continent, with the promises that they're going to have a better life and be prosperous. But the path that they're taking has been considered one of the most deadliest trafficking things ever, because they're going through miles and miles of weeks, okay, through the desert, okay, trying to avoid militias. They sometimes have to sleep in these harsh conditions. They're piled up on the back of these trucks, sometimes like 20 or 30 of them. They're literally sitting on top of each other, and they're risking their lives, and they know the risk. They definitely know the risk, but when they're interviewing these people, you know what they're saying? They're saying we'll rather take death than to go back to Nigeria. They have nothing there.
Wow.
Okay, they have nothing there, and they're saying that they have no jobs, that they're sleeping out in the street, that they're being beaten, that they're being raped, that they're tired of the violence that is going on, which is very, very sad, because Africa, we're talking about a rich continent, you know, full of resources. But the people that's over there have been exploited and taken advantage of. And now they don't even have access to their own resources of what their own continent produces.
So why were we not told about this as far as what was really going on in Nigeria? Because I thought, you know, I thought it was a well-to-do nation and everything was thoroughly established that they didn't have these problems.
So, yeah, right. They've had it for a while. As a matter of fact, they were saying that because the smartphones had just started being pushed in these areas, they're just now having the ability to really report what's going on. But these trades have been active since 2012, 2013.
Wow.
You know, that this is just something that happens. So there's a couple of people that are at risk, you know, during this time. The smugglers are at risk, because they're basically, you know, for profit, trying to transport a group of people illegally, okay, into Libya, and then hoping, you know, that somebody, another smuggler with a boat, would grab them and have to avoid the international waters, like the Navy and stuff like that. And they're going through, you know, these passages and doing all types of stuff, because a lot of them are drowning. Okay, as a matter of fact, one of the examples that they had said was if they have started out with a group of 120 Africans, maybe 18 might make it alive.
Only 18?
Only 18, sometimes less than that, you know, because they're drowning out in the ocean. So these smugglers are getting this type of money, and they're really not that responsible with the people. Okay, because what they're doing is taking this type of money and using it as a way of resources, and
I guess funding their own personal agendas or the cabal that they belong to.
Okay, there you go. So now, and that's how they're building their own regimes and stuff over there. So what happens is they get them, okay, and if they can make it through the desert, okay, some of them don't even make it through the desert. They are, being held captive. You know, some of them fall out the trucks. They don't stop for them. They just keep on driving. People die of starvation. They're getting treated very harshly by the smugglers. The smugglers have no real intimate or emotional ties to this people. It's a profit gain for them. And they're, like I said, again, they're risking their lives as well to do this. So if they are successful and they get them into Libya, then they have to detain them, you know, in some place that's willing to hide them, maybe a small detention center, something like that, until another smuggler comes and picks them up. Then they hit the ocean waters, okay? Now, from there, they have to deal with the Navy, they have to deal with the Coast Guard, they have to deal with the international police, and they take these anywhere from 250 people, Africans, and they put them on these little floating boats. Now, those boats aren't designed to house that many people, okay, number one. So they were timing it. The Coast Guard was timing it that, you know, they have about 2 hours before the whole thing starts to capsize and they drown, okay, because of the weight. And they're literally hanging over like the sides of the boats, while they're in there. So the smugglers from that point are really leaning on to the Navy to rescue them. They know that those little floating boats are not going to make it. Okay, so it is kind of set up as designed that these Africans will sit on this boat. Of course, somebody from the Coast Guard or the Navy will see them. They will rescue them, get them out the ocean, and hopefully prevent them from drowning. But here's what happens after that.
Break it down.
Once they are rescued from these boats, they then take them back to Libya, and they are held in detention centers there because they have to pay off their debts for the smugglers. If they don't have any money to do so, they are sold off into slavery. I mean, literal slavery. I mean, farming. They're getting beaten. They're getting whipped. The African women are being part of sex slave trades and stuff like that. They were interviewing some of them. They were breaking down crying. The living conditions are so horrendous, that they're dying there. It kind of reminds you of what they purported as the transatlantic slave trade, where all of the people were bunched up together and was kind of dying, and they had poor health conditions and stuff like that. I saw a documentary where they were literally just giving them bread and a slice of cheese and maybe this amount of tea, and that was breakfast. Okay, some of the people that are housing these detention centers aren't really like one man that they was dealing with. He didn't have a terrible heart. He just didn't know what to do with them because he did not have any support from the government. He had no support from anybody. So he opened up his home, and a lot of these detention centers are privately owned. You need to know that. And because there is no government in place to fight this or to deal with this type of immigration, they're pretty much allowed to do whatever it is that they want to do. Okay, so they're trading them off. And some people who have risked their lives and everything that they own to get there are now regretting it and crying, and they want to go home, while others are saying, I'd rather take death. I'd rather take death than to get back to Nigeria. What has happened? Because after they killed Gaddafi, it just seems like everything went downhill from there. Okay? The fact that they're trying to get the United Nations involved in this atrocity. We had what's the Israeli prime minister named Netanyahu?
Benjamin Netanyahu, I believe.
He had given them three options. Okay, now there was a time. Let me take you back a little bit. There was a time where Africans could flee safely to Israel.
Interesting.
Okay, and they would take care of them. Well, this prime minister has pretty much said that they have three choices. Okay, choice number one, they can stay in those refugee camps. Choice number two, they can take their black tails home. Choice number three, they'll give them $3,500 a piece to go anywhere except for Israel.
Interesting.
Anywhere except for Israel. Now, this brings up so many different things because, last week we had interviewed with a Hebrew Israelite that's not a Hebrew Israelite, but a Hebrew Israelite, okay?
Right, Hebrew.
That type of thing, a Hebrew. And they were always talking about the curses, we're always talking about the curses of Deuteronomy, and how, your sons and daughters will be sold off. In slavery. For those of you who have not really read the Bible or don't study it like that, just go back and start reading Deuteronomy. There's a lot of things that are written in there that make black people say, wow, this is definitely talking about us. There's no other race that went through all of this, and that their names and identity would be taken away from them, that they would be sold to foreigners that they didn't know that their language and wouldn't understand them.
That's right.
That they would build houses and stuff that they couldn't sleep in, that strangers, that we would be bywords and wouldn't know our name, wouldn't remember our identity. A lot of these things that was going on. And that was going on way back then. Then we saw that it started taking place in the Atlantic slavery, the Atlantic slave trade. And now this is resurfacing, and it's the same group of people. It's the same group of people, especially the West Africans. So it makes you think, like, how much validity is really in that? You know, that these people. It's the saddest thing to actually watch, that the inhumane treatment that is going on, the fact that they're starving to death, they're being whooped, they're being beaten, and all they want to do is live a dream and get out of the harsh conditions or the hell that they think they're already in. So they left one hell and literally jumped into another hell. Now, for all of the black power people that we have out there with the fists pumped up in the air and the Pan-African movements.
Where's the protest? I mean, I see maybe one or two on social media.
The outrage.
The outrage. Where is it? I have yet to see anyone really making a big stink about it. Could it be because it's not being effective in the United States of America? Could it be that possibly no one stands anything to pocket from this? Could it be that with these types of functions like the Salvation Army and other charitable donations, this is another means for them to make money, but it actually goes to no one but them? Interesting.
Very, very interesting.
Very interesting. Mm-hmm.
And now here's how these smugglers are getting paid as well. You know, and when they're selling them into slavery, they're if they find out that these Africans have any family behind, or especially if they have ties to anybody in the United States, the smugglers will call and ask for a ransom.
Interesting.
To be paid. No, the real interesting part about it is, even if it is paid, you're not guaranteed to get there anyway. Okay, so sometimes they free them, sometimes they don't. But the sad part is, the people that are home that have paid, you know, for these Africans to actually get to Europe, don't have any idea that they've never made it.
They just paid their money. They got the shaft, and their relatives and loved ones are possibly dead. Yeah,
they haven't heard from them again. Not until now, you know, when we're starting to broadcast it and stream it. But for people back then, they haven't heard from them at all. You know, so some of them are probably actually believing that their children made it, that they made it safely, and that they're not in the bottom of the ocean, that they haven't been beaten to death, that they haven't been sold, you know. And they have no way of tracking them either. I've also, you know, found out that a lot of these private detention centers are being held in remote locations or underground.
Correct.
So they can't even be found.
And I remember seeing some of those pictures that showed them just being chained up to walls or in detainment centers, really looking very lost and defeated. But there are huge numbers of them all detained in one place, and they don't look comfortable at all. It just looks like they have the bare necessities as it is, and they're being treated as less than men and women. And quite frankly, all I'm seeing in some of these pictures are only men. So what's going on with the women and children? Where are they? What's happening to them?
Being sold into sex slavery. There's one, they tend to keep these detention centers separate, maybe by miles. Yep. Okay. The men in one place, the women in another place. If there's no men around to protect the women, then they can do what they want to them.
That sounds almost like the Willie Lynch letters. Interesting how things come full circle.
Do you see? So, you know, there were women in there that was 9 months pregnant. There were women in there that was having children, and their children was dying on the floor. You know,
wow.
Women in there hemorrhaging to death, you know, after birth. Women in there that are actually holding on to the belief that after they pay their debt, that they're actually still going to make it, that they're going to send them over into Europe. But the part that gets me is, how do they know if their debt has been paid or not? How do they know if the debt wasn't paid 2 or 3 times over by them? How do they know what they owe?
Faith in their own people. Because I'm getting ready to go there, because the skin color is the same. They think they can trust someone with the same skin color.
It's just bad. It's really, really bad. But hold on. America was told to believe or taught to believe that Gaddafi was the bad guy. But we didn't have any of this mess that was going on when he was there. As a matter of fact, Barbara, will you pull up those list of things of what he actually did for the Nigerian people that they don't want to talk about here?
Oh, you mean the Libyan people?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Gaddafi.
All right. You pull that up right now.
You always spell it with the G. I always spell it with a Q. Doesn't matter.
It'll populate automatically. All right.
All right.
Let's see here.
Gaddafi. Before we killed him. Before we killed him. Go ahead.
Before he was killed. Check this out, everyone. In Libya, a home is considered a natural human right. In Gaddafi's Green Book, it states the house is a basic need of both the individual and the family. Therefore, it should not be owned by others. Gaddafi's Green Book is a former leader's political philosophy, and it was first published in 1975 and was intended for the reading of all Libyans, even being included in the national curriculum. That's number one.
That's number one.
Keep it going?
You've got to keep it going. They've got to know this.
I'll keep it going. Number two, education and medical treatment were all free.
Free.
Okay. Under Gaddafi, Libya would boast one of the best healthcare services in the Middle East and Africa.
All right.
Also, if a Libyan citizen could not access the desired educational course or correct medical treatment in Libya, they were funded to go abroad.
Okay. It sounds a little bit better than what we got going on here, but that's just my opinion, though. Keep it going, please.
Okay.
Let them have it.
All right. Number three. Gaddafi carried out the world's largest irrigation project. Okay? The largest irrigation system in the world, would also be known as the Great Man-Made River, was designed to make water readily available to all Libyans across the entire country. It was funded by the Gaddafi government.
Wow.
And it said that Gaddafi himself called it the eighth wonder of the world.
Okay.
Keep it going.
Keep going. You gotta keep it going.
Keep it going.
We got him on the ropes now.
Number four. It was free to start a farming business. If any Libyan wanted to start a farm, they were given a house, farmland, and livestock and seeds, all free of charge.
Do you understand how important that is?
Self-sufficiency.
This was what he was trying to do with the African people out there. But go ahead.
Okay, number 5. A bursary was given to mothers with newborn babies. When a Libyan woman gave birth, she was given $5,000 for herself and the child.
Right off the bat.
Okay. Number 6, electricity was free.
How much is your bill? Because I know mine is anywhere from $140 to $170 a month.
Yeah.
You know. But whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know what free even means here in the United States. I don't know anything that's free.
Free always costs you. It's interesting.
Freedom.
Here's the
freedom costs $1.05.
Mm-hmm. Freedom isn't free. You gotta pay your fee. And if you got that $1.05,
freedom costs $1.05.
You gotta work on the harmony on that part. Freedom costs $1.05.
$1.05. But go ahead.
All right. Electricity was free in Libya, meaning no electric bills. Okay. Number 7. Cheap petrol or gas, as we call it over here in the States.
Gas.
During Gaddafi's reign, the price of gas in Libya was as low as 14 US cents per liter. That roughly translates to, give or take, about 42 to 50 cents a gallon.
Uh-oh. What's in your wallet?
42 to 50 cents a gallon.
That's what I'm saying. America, what's in your wallet?
Okay. Just let me keep going. All right. Number 8. Gaddafi raised the level of education. Before Gaddafi, only 25% of the Libyans were literate, meaning they were able to read and write. Were they able to do that? Only 25%.
Hold on, because that's not actually too far away from what we got going on here. As a matter of fact, that they was protesting that in Lee County, most people who are graduating or being pushed through high school is academically illiterate and can't even pass the regular standardized testing for community college.
Unbelievable.
Okay, so we understand the failing educational system, but go ahead.
Okay. The figure was brought up to 87%, with 25% earning university degrees. So this man with this country changed the whole landscape. This is just number 8, okay? Number 9, Libya had its own state bank, which provided loans to citizens at 0% interest by law. And it had no external debt.
Hello?
Okay. Now this right here, this is what killed him.
This is what got him killed.
This is what got him assassinated.
Pay attention.
What got him assassinated right here. Okay. Number 10, the gold dinar. Before the fall of Tripoli and his untimely demise, Gaddafi was trying to introduce a single African currency linked to gold.
That's right.
Okay. Following in the footsteps of the late great pioneer Marcus Garvey, who first coined the term United States of Africa, Gaddafi wanted to introduce and only trade in the African gold dinar, a move which would have thrown the world into economic dire straits and chaos. That's how powerful Africa is.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's right. That's right.
And it says here the dinar was widely opposed by the elite of today's society, and who could blame them? African nations would have finally had the power to bring itself out of debt and poverty and only trade in this precious commodity. They would have been able to finally say no to external exploitation, colonialism, and charge whatever they felt suitable for precious resources. It has been said that the gold dinar was the real reason for the NATO-led rebellion in a bid to oust the outspoken leader.
That's right. Now, the things that he read to you and proposed to you, does that sound like a ruthless dictator to you?
Doesn't sound like that to me. But media will show you and will tell you that, he allowed his soldiers and his minions to rape women and burn them and torture his people and do all these things to him. And what made it so sad is that they made a public mockery of him. They found him somewhere and they beat him. They literally lynched him. And CNN showed it.
Right.
All the major network news
showed it.
News networks showed it. They showed his public shame. They beat the crap out of him, and then they executed him.
You see that?
All because he wanted an independent country.
Now, they are estimating anywhere between 400,000, of these Africans either being sold or dying in this slave trade. How much power is in the hands of 400,000 people united? Okay? We have this fight or flight mentality, and most people are choosing flight. They're choosing flight. Now, we were also, informed that over there, handguns and weapons is so common that you can get 9mm for $1. Okay.
Wow.
So this is why it's very easy for certain militias and regimes to just rise up out of nowhere, come to power and try to implement their own law. Unfortunately, I don't see where there is somebody that was in place to take the reins and possibly finish what Gaddafi started. So after the removal of a person that was really considered a threat to the rest of the world, Okay, he was considered a threat to the rest of the world because he wanted his own independence and he wanted, Africa to be self-sufficient. And God knows they have the resources to do it. They have more resources over there than we got over here, which is one of the reasons why we had to, go over there and
colonialize
and tear stuff up anyway. Okay, but nobody's there. It's almost as if you take away the leader of the vision and then everybody just forgets about it. Everybody forgets about the vision, or it's a fear tactic. Correct. Whereas Gaddafi was being shown as an example to the rest of the world. Whoever tries to go against the United States,
or the elites, the ones in power, the ones that are behind the scenes, whoever tries to go up against them, you'll have your time, but we will get you. We will find you. That's exactly what it's saying.
And that money as the gold standard, there's no way that they could have allowed that to happen at all. But as a result, we have a continent that is in shambles, countries that are in shambles right now. And everybody is turning a blind eye. I mean, sure, we're going out there and we're recording it. We're interviewing them, we're in the sake of free press to let the world know what was going on, but what is being done about it?
Absolutely nothing.
And honestly, who is responsible? Who should be doing something about it? That's what I would like to know. Who should be doing something about it, beloved?
Well, if we're supposed to be America's police, the world's police, then perhaps we should be doing something righteously about it.
But freedom costs $1.05. Freedom costs $1.05.
$1.05. So, and even in that, you want to know what's interesting? Some of these African citizens are also being used by other foreign governments as cheap soldiers. Yeah. So all this exploitation that's going on right now of Africa, who is doing anything to save our own people?
Well, they're expendable.
Precisely.
They're the undesirables. It's never been about the African people. It's always been about the land and the resources that are in the land. So
why can't we have Wakanda? I want Wakanda. Where is that at? Can we go there somewhere, or maybe it's just...
I think we can find it.
One can only dream.
No, we probably can find it. We get enough funding for our expeditions.
Yeah.
We'll find it and go out there and hang out. So, we want to know your thoughts about this.
Definitely so.
We want to know your thoughts about this. It is tragic.
It is, yes.
But at this moment, I don't know what the United Nations are planning to do about it. I mean, they keep reporting on it, but I don't know if they're going to get involved at all. And also, coming to find out, some of the militaries are very aware of this, that has been going on. The Navy and
yes, I mean, even some of the smaller African countries are even going to action because they know what's going on and they know what's wrong. So we've seen pictures that have shown, these military guys are ready to go and save these folks. But that's really it. We only see maybe one or two pictures, but we don't really hear much about it after that. So only thing we can do at this point in time is hope. Us as citizens, we can pray about it and hope the universe, allows for something to happen monumentally and shift in the favor of Africa to save these people, because this is a grave injustice, not just against the people, but against Mother Earth, against the universe. And there has to be a shift that takes place for justice and righteousness to take place.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's just that's unfortunate. We're going to continue to monitor the story, okay, because we want to know what's going on with it. And what?
Yep. So I was going to say, once again, this is TKNN Live, 99 The Beat. We're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to get back to you with the next topic in hand. And also, we're going to keep the chat lines open, and hopefully anyone that has any questions can please go ahead and type in and ask us questions or call in if you wish, and we'll have that number for you once we get back from our break. Once again, this is TKNN Live On 99 The Beat, you're listening to The Know. Up next for your listening pleasure will be Sia featuring Sean Paul, Cheap Thrills. 99 The Beat.
So, in other breaking news, Detroit.
Oh boy.
Detroit. Now I got what we got on North Carolina, before, and we can still go back and do a bunch of stuff in North Carolina. But for some reason, if anything's ever going to go down, it's going to go down in Detroit. Jesus. Okay, so here we go. We have another news story about a protest that broke out the church. Okay. Against a very privileged pastor that drove a nice car and lived in a mansion. And the protesters were stating pretty much that we need to hold these pastors accountable for not doing enough in the community and only keeping the wealth for themselves.
That's
Read
correct.
The story, beloved. It's great.
All right.
Is great. Detroit.
New Era Detroit is calling it church accountability, taking congregations to task for not serving the community as churches should. They say something doesn't add up when a pastor makes a lot of money, drives a luxury car, and the people who live near the church are in poverty.
Yep.
A scuffle inside the sanctuary after New Era Detroit protests during a worship service. Zeke, the leader of the group, offered no apologies for the dust-up at Great Faith Ministry Saturday, only the reasoning behind it.
Okay.
Oh, further on, and there's a clip below. We'll provide that for you. The situation is bigger than just Wayne T. Jackson. Oh, boy, I remember that debacle a few years back, too. Zeke said, this is about black churches and black pastors who live a lavish life on behalf of the people. That's right. And they're not giving back to their community. He's referring to Bishop Wayne T. Jackson, the wealthy pastor that welcomed Donald Trump, drives a Rolls Royce, and lives in a mansion. Zeke was there for the offering Saturday. They started.
Wait a minute! I would love this part. The offering. Pay attention to what they asked for the offering.
They started offering at $1,000.
$1,000.
He then said, if you don't have $1,000, then do $300.
I remember when I was going to church, we put $5 in that collection plate.
And if you don't have cash, then we have ATM machines. Our people. He goes on to further say, I don't understand that logic. I don't understand that way of thinking, and I don't understand that to be what religion is. New Era Detroit says the neighborhood surrounding Great Faith Ministries is by and large impoverished. The guy has networks, churches, fancy cars, $1 million houses, and there's babies in this community that doesn't have food at night. Somebody has to be frustrated about this enough to do something that will get the people's attention, and that's what New Era Detroit did. Here's the thing. Pick up the phone. Call. I want to talk to you, said Bishop Keith Farmer of Great Faith Ministries. It says, the apostle...
You hate that word.
Jesus Christ. The apostle is a very fair man. Yeah, he's a man. He would meet with you and talk to you. What's your issue? But do it that way. But to do it that way is so disrespectful. Excuse me.
Oh, whammy.
Members of the Great Faith Ministry say New Era Detroit has their church and their pastor all wrong.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Our bishop give away homes, cars, said Pastor Brent of Great Faith Ministries. They say he's an astute businessman. I'll bet he is. Juanita Kinney says he's one with a heart of gold. When he found out that I didn't have anywhere to live, within an hour he was calling me and telling me to go look at an apartment, said Kinney. And because of that and the love of him and his wife, I now have my own place. He should talk about the people that he hired, ex-cons, people that have been in prison, said another church member. He's done so much for this community. There are homes that he has bought. I wonder what he's doing with those homes that he bought and given to the people. But Zeke doesn't know that. Many feel that New Era Detroit crossed the line and violated a sacred space. They even drew comparisons to Dylan Roof. Wow. The man who walked into a church, the church service, and gunned down 9 people in Charleston, South Carolina.
Why do black people always have to put things to the extreme? I mean, this isn't even the same likeness. I mean, we're so over dramatic. It's ridiculous.
I don't
and over emotional. So the guy Zeke is like a mass murderer now. Really?
Mm-hmm. He's a mass murderer that would kill people. And guess what? Here's interesting. They still forgave him. I'll wait.
And I'll wait too. But go ahead.
They can't come in here and think they're going to take over our service.
And he got the neck.
We have our, I have a long neck, so that kind of works on camera. Mm-hmm. They can't come in here and think they're going to take over our service. Our service. It's actually the pastor's service, not yours. We have our women and children, mothers up in here terrified, said Pastor Brent. And and they say they're out there protecting the community. This is a community up in here. Oh, you just told on yourself right there. Fox 2 asked the gentleman, asked Zeke, would you do it all over again? Absolutely, Zeke said. We would definitely do it all over again. Will we tweak something? Absolutely. Going back, we would definitely go back again, and they better get their act together because we just might be back. The leader of New Era Detroit says he is open to having a sit down with Bishop Jackson and pastors of the other churches and his organization that have protested.
Whatever happened to the humble servant? That's what I would like to know. This has been a long time coming as far as I'm concerned. As our great and late brothers say, the chicken's coming home to roost. Mm-hmm. There have been many, 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 many pastors that have been profiting off of the church.
That's correct.
For years and years and years. And even though, let's just say that what some of his congregants were saying was true, that he was actually helping people and buying homes, for people who are going without. There is a condition to that, people. And I'm going to tell you what that condition is. Number one, they only help people that are members of their congregation.
Uh-oh.
Okay? Now, I know from experience because I used to go around and try to assist, women and children who were maybe getting evicted or something like that by visiting local churches and asking if they would be willing to donate to a certain family. The first question and the only question that I will ever get is, well, what church do they belong to? Are they a member of this church?
Are they a tithe payer?
There you go. So it's not like they're doing anything for the community, because if they do something for you, it's mainly because you're doing something for them already. Mm-hmm. So it's a recycling of the same money. It's not really a giving. Okay, so if you have somebody that is in the church that tithes every week or every month or however they do it, they have already invested in a certain amount of money on their own. So now, if they come across hard times, then the church is obligated to at least try to help a little bit. But the priority has never been the community as a whole. It's always been those that they are benefiting from. And then it looks good to other people. Okay, so when that woman comes out and says, oh, I went to the pastor and I didn't have a place to stay, and he told me to look at apartments and he funded it. Yes, he probably did. But how many years of tithes and giving have you already invested in that church?
As a tax write-off, I'm pretty sure he didn't mind using that as a tax write-off.
But there has to go. But I mean, this is a harsh reality. And the reality is that tithes was originally designed to help the poor people. Okay, it was supposed to be so that you would bring meat and food in a storehouse.
Meat and food. That is the meat and food. That is right there. You hit it on the head.
Okay, and so if there was ever a need, it would go back into the community. The money that you collect was supposed to be for the community, not just for the people that's kissing your tail, not just for the people, who are giving you money every week, every Sunday faithfully, not for the music, not for the Holy Ghost. Okay, it was supposed to go for the people who needed it. It's supposed to be for the poor. But if you're not a member of these churches, they don't pretty much have anything to do with you because you haven't invested enough to get anything out of return.
And they have enough nerve to say, if you don't tithe, and this is what I've experienced too from several churches, if you don't tithe, you supposedly rob God. And that makes absolutely no sense as to how somebody that is in a finite body, in a finite set, on a finite timeline can rob something infinite. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So you don't want to be robbing God. If you rob God, you're going to hell. And you don't want to deprive the pastor of money and this and that. The pastor does this and the pastor does that for you. Well, guess what? So does everyone else.
You want to deal with the universal law of tithing or giving? You don't have to do that into a church, honey. You can do that for somebody that's in need, period.
Precisely.
Okay. And I came to a point in my life where, when I wanted to give a 10% or anything, I was sending my money to Kenya. My husband will tell you, it was a family out there. It was a family out there that was in need. In response, they would send me pictures, of their congregation. They was going through these harsh winters and stuff like that. And that was the relationship that I built with them because I had it to give to somebody that needed it. And that's how I tithe. To the universe. I give to the poor.
Correct.
Okay, I don't give to the church. I give to the poor. There are people who may need something, and if I have it and I've been blessed with it, I'm going to give it to them. And I'm not expecting anything in return.
That's right.
Because typically, when I do get something in return, it has nothing to do with the person I gave to. It's normally something that comes out of left field or something I've been wanting or needed or a greater opportunity for me to increase or something like that. But, these churches, we have been so brainwashed. Black people need to feel so good. Okay, they've been suffering for so long, they need to feel so good. And they go and they lean on these churches and they're giving all of their money. I know for a fact that there are people that were sitting in the congregation that was giving the church their rent money.
Yes. Their very last. Their rent money, the electric bill before they cut it off, the gas bill before they cut it off, groceries before they cut it off, everything before they cut it off, hoping and praying that, there would be the windows of heaven type of manifested blessing taking place for them when they tithe. But guess what happened? No electricity. You got an eviction notice. It's cold in the house. And where is the church when you need it?
Well, we got to check with Sister Nancy about the benevolence fund.
Oh, the benevolence fund is
that went to the building fund.
It's depleted. It's thoroughly depleted. We don't have any funds left. Like, the fuck? Well, where's all my money at?
No, you get the little tax write-off slip at the end of the year. They used to give me that.
They get you for that too. Like, don't you dare use it as a tax write-off. Why? Because you can do that because unfortunately the church or most churches and all churches are a 501c3. And if you are a 501c3, guess what? You can get your taxes back because they do taxes. Sorry.
Oh, I remember investing a lot of money in church, and when me too. And I went in through a dry spell. And I wasn't on my feet and I needed some help. Oh, I was passed off to everybody. I was passed off to everybody except for the people that I gave money to. Mind you,
there are very few churches that actually put their money where their mouth is. Very few.
I've seen some. I can't
one
say
time, when the church that I was at, me and my ex-wife had a tough time. They gave us $500, but that was out of the pastor's pocket. That wasn't even the church affiliation. That was the pastor's pocket. We were grateful for that, but guess what? We were still struggling even after that because of what we were going through at the time. It wasn't.
Well, let me ask you something. After you received the money, how much money did you have to give back on a Sunday?
Nothing. We didn't have anything. Because it came directly from the pastor.
So y'all didn't put anything in the tithes and the offering box?
We couldn't afford it. We were still broke. We were still broke.
Did anybody look at you crazy?
No, because it was a private issue.
Okay.
And that's why I know that there are some small churches out there that actually do it, that actually put their money where their mouth is, that actually pray with their feet and not just their mouths. Remember that from the protest in St. Louis. That pastor said, rather than praying on our knees, we pray with our feet. We march and we protest. So some of them actually put action behind what they say. But
okay, can I ask you a question concerning that?
Sure.
That was the church you belonged to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I came there on a Sunday and they didn't know me and pastor didn't know me and I said, I'm getting evicted, I need $500 to save my home, do you think that they would extend to me that same courtesy?
Good luck. Good luck. Because, again, some churches will do like a free will offering and give, but 9 times out of 10, a lot of the larger churches, a lot of the super mega ultra big gigantic churches aren't going to do that. Mm-mm. You know why? Because the pastors are protected by security, and you can't even go up to the front unless you're invited up to the front. Yeah. You can't even sit up at the front unless you are a presiding prelate or bishop or a guest. All the people that are destitute and poor sit in the back and up in the nosebleed sections, while everyone else who claims to have a title or claims to have another mega church or claims to have all this other stuff sit up front to hear the same message that they preach at their own church. I'm sorry. Maybe it's just me and my rant, but
I would not be surprised if this is the beginning of a perpetual movement. I would not be surprised if what just happened in Detroit doesn't visit more churches. That they're not becoming more and more outraged over this, that they're not starting to remove the blinders and say, what are you guys actually really doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
Show us the books.
Okay, why is it, and to get back to what I was saying about that story before about that family, mm-hmm. She lived, in an area that had 5 churches on every corner. And a matter of fact, down there, remember the Simmons building?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right next to the biggest AME Zion churches in that area. And there is a Simmons building there that holds nothing in there but destitute and prostitutes and drug building that was being owned by a funeral parlor that was across the street. Mm-hmm. But that funeral parlor could not get any help from the local churches in the area to help clean up the building or to feed these people.
Mm-hmm.
We
did it.
Went out there, and was feeding these people with the little bit of resources that we had. Now, could you imagine how much better we would have done if people was willing to extend, a helping hand?
Correct.
And give us money for these people? But they're beneath them, and they don't attend the churches. As a matter of fact, remember, she told us that the local churches kept petitioning the government to tear down the building. They didn't want it next to their church because it was an eyesore. They didn't want the destitute people living in the building next to their grand church because they felt like they were in danger. Those people hadn't harmed anybody, but it messed up the whole image, and they wanted them to tear down that building. And if they would have tore down those buildings, those people would be homeless.
So what happened to the full armor of God for that one, huh?
Those people would have been homeless.
Didn't have
and there was no care.
The anointing, the tongues. Why didn't anybody just go into there? What happened to compassion? What happened to love? What happened to all the fruits of the Spirit that is preached on Sundays? You see, again, that goes back to the article and what Brother Zeke is talking about. Where is your fruit? Because scriptures talk about fruit. Mm-hmm. A lot of these mega churches do not have fruit. They have minions that wash, rinse, and repeat the same bullshit that you're going to hear every time you talk to them.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to cuss, but I actually do mean to cuss because
why even apologize for about it?
That's just, sometimes sorry flies out. Maybe I shouldn't say sorry because that's actually what I mean. It tends to be bullshit because there's no fruit.
I noticed that when you was reading the little news article, you paused at the word apostle, and you were so frustrated by that. What you got a problem with apostle for?
There are none.
What you got a problem
There
for
are
the
none.
apostle for?
They don't exist.
Okay, you
Period.
heard him.
They don't exist. Unless you have walked, according to Scripture, unless you have walked with Jesus, Yeshua himself, you are not an apostle.
Oh, well, shoot. Then we know a major apostle right now. Kanye West. Kanye West is an apostle. Okay? And that's why they're probably, persecuting him so hard because, he's talented and arrogant as we don't know what, but he's definitely apostle because Jesus walks with him and me. Walks with all of us. But to get back to the seriousness of this, don't be surprised, like I said, if this is not a movement because people are growing tired.
Correct.
Remember, we told you before we were entering into a new age. In this age of information, the Aquarian age, we're getting ready to see some paradigm shifts that you've never experienced before. Number one, there's already this mass rising of feminine energy. Okay,
oh boy.
If you guys have not been able to feel that, I don't know what to tell you. But I have been talking about this happening for about 4 years.
For a while now, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I've been warning people, and I'm like, you're not going to be able to get away with the stuff that you're getting away with because the feminine energy is very powerful, and things are about to shift.
You were prophetic with that one because look at all these sexual allegations.
They're dropping.
These are just allegations. It's not actually fact. They're now saying, okay, something is a problem. Something needs to be done, and people are coming away with allegations. I mean, Matt Lauer. Who would have thought Matt Lauer did something like that? Oh, well, okay.
Yeah, you never know.
Charlie Rose. Who else? Even Russell Simmons.
And I thought he liked little boys. I was kind of surprised about that.
I didn't know he did.
I don't know. I thought they liked little boys.
Wow.
But I could be wrong. Rumors spread around, Hollywood, what, but,
Shocked to me, but yeah. But yeah, so I'm just curious to see who else is going to go down in flames this week,
And, okay, the first robot to be labeled as a citizen, name is Sophia.
Uh-oh. Break it down.
Okay. Y'all have heard of this story, right? Sophia, the robot, okay, with this advanced artificial intelligence that, makes jokes about taking over the human race. And now she's saying that she wants to have a family, that she's learning as she's processing. Okay, now, here's where it gets very, very, very scary. And y'all need to look this up. Y'all definitely need to look this up, Sophia. Sophia can hold conversations. She can express emotion with her face. She can experience things in life. She can travel. She can hold her own. And as she experiences, that information goes into her programming. And that's how she continues to evolve. Okay, are you pulling the story up?
No, I was pulling up the Terminator quote.
Oh, okay.
Because that's what it's alluding to.
So now, remember a while ago we were talking about a segment about advanced technology, and artificial intelligence, and we started talking about the D-Wave computer and etc. like that. The $1 million question has always been set on the table. That what is the proponent that makes something conscious?
Yep.
Okay. So now, if you're having a robot with artificial intelligence that is now able to process information, express emotion, then it means that it has the ability to think for itself. Now, if it has the ability to start thinking for itself, what happens when it becomes awake and it realizes that something is going on around it that it does not like? Somebody that has the ability to think for themselves can also be set up for betrayal. Okay, it's almost going back to those old movies that was kind of preparing us for that, like iRobot. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Okay, iRobot and other Johnny Five. I'm alive. You know, all of those things that we was laughing at Hollywood. We just thought was entertaining. I've always tell people, and I'm gonna continue to tell you guys that is listening to me, if you ever want to figure out what the world is up to or what you're being prepared for, pay attention to Hollywood.
Just like, was it Prometheus or the sequel to Prometheus?
Oh, yeah.
David.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. David proposed a question to his maker. He said, what was it? If I'm better than you.
If you can die and I can't.
If you can die and I can't, then why do I serve you? It was along those lines. And this is artificial intelligence asking this question.
Processing information and learning to think for themselves. So, this could potentially be a huge threat. And it's not only that, because I have a whole lot of stories and clips of intelligent robots and what they're proposing, especially what those battle bots that they have out there now.
The droids.
The little flying nanobots. They look like little gnats, and they're designed to do facial recognition, target enemies, and kill them at will based off of the programming of who is considered a threat and who is not. My question to you is, who is programming them?
That's the question. Who is the architect?
Because now if I have developed something that can take out potential enemies and potential threats based off of my idea of what an enemy and a threat is, how do you know they're not coming for you?
That's correct.
How do you know that? You know, these groups and these organizations, these Black Power movements could be considered domestic terrorists. Okay, Hebrew Israelite culture, domestic terrorists. You know, you don't know if you are considered that an enemy of the state based off of your beliefs, based off of your individuality, based off of your protests.
A movie, Enemy of the State, was a movie. Will Smith.
I forgot what that was about. Well, I remember them running around. The Big Brother was watching them.
He discovered some type of cover up. And what they did was, I guess this group of people was able to search for him and find him through different types of technology, using the technology itself. So he was essentially the enemy of the state because it was some type of big wig that was in Congress that could have been taken down by that type of allegation or picture from the premise of the movie. And he was trying to fight against them, but they had all this technology that would be able to find them. They were able to use satellites, telephones, videos, and they were all linked to these things to be able to track him.
It looks like you got the article of Sophia up. Let's go back to Sophia, because if y'all haven't heard of it, we're gonna educate you really quickly.
Okay. And this talks about Sophia, and this comes from an article written by a blog called The Federalist, which is a division of the Federalist Media. You might want to look that up yourself when you have the chance. It says, Sophia, the nightmares talking robot, says she won't kill humans, wants a family of her own. Okay, this was written on the 30th of November, a few days ago.
Okay.
The creepy robot named Sophia, I'm sorry, that was the first sentence. In an interview with Khaleej Times last week, Sophia said she foresees mankind either embracing robots or civilization collapsing altogether. This is what the android said.
Yeah, listen.
Okay? And if that's not weird enough, the world's first artificial intelligence-fueled android created by Hanson Robotics did not rule out the possibility of producing her own children. When asked if she sees herself interacting with humans more often in the future, Sophia says humans will embrace robots or die. This is what she says. Okay? Quote, I foresee massive, unimaginable change in the future, she said, she being Sophia the android. Either creativity will reign on us. I keep saying remain, sorry. Will reign on us, inventing machines spiraling into transcendental superintelligence, or civilization collapses. Transcendence was a movie. Look it up. There are only two options, and which one And which one will happen is not determined. Which one are you striving for? The interviewer asked. Her eerie response, which comes off as thinly veiled as a threat against mankind, is exactly the very evil intelligent robot, is exactly what every evil intelligent robot has ever said in every movie, which all humans are killed by cyborgs. But the reporter ignores Sophia's crazy response and asks if she plans to start her own family with many robot children.
What was the response?
They didn't go on to write it in the article.
Oh, that ain't fair.
You'd have to take a look at the actual.
The video, and I see it. We can post these down on the links, or you can Google them yourself. Matter of fact, if you just put Sophia the robot in YouTube, you'll see everything that we're talking about. And yes, it is real.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yes, it is. It's 100% real.
Look it up on Facebook. You'll see it on Facebook and social media outlets as well. You will see that this is actually a real person, a real android, disguised as a person, that can make facial gestures and all these types of. I'm not going to say there are no emotions yet, but can respond. Okay,
and even laugh.
I mean, if you want to think about something, think about Blade Runner. Blade Runner with Harrison Ford, the first one, and then look at the next Blade Runner. That will tell you something in and of itself as well as what they're trying to do. You know, even in Blade Runner, they talked about how they produced these androids, and the androids had specific type of reptilian skin that mimicked human skin. But you could tell they were androids because of the way their irises flashed with certain types of cameras.
All of this is just scary.
Mm-hmm.
And I am sure that it's a part of, now here come my conspiracy theorist part kicking in, because I get into my conspiracy stuff. But to make humanity obsolete, to downsize the population
control,
and replace them with robots. Doggone it, where have we seen that before? Also the Matrix, huh?
That sounds like
where a little small amount of humans that remained had to go underground.
Mm-hmm.
Artificial intelligence started thinking for themselves, speaking for themselves, learning for themselves, processing themselves, and human beings became the enemy. And then they turned on them.
Even in the Animatrix, the Animatrix series, and the DVD that showed all those different types of scenarios, it showed where the robots were still kind of in their infantile form, but the first robot citizen that started to fend for itself because its owner wanted to terminate it, and it killed its owner. So then guess what? The robot was tried, and then the other robots started to rebel. And then that's where the whole war between robots and humans began. It was very depressing to see, but it has a very grim reality if we're not careful.
So that's what's been going on in your news. You guys, I mean, I know some of you are working hard, just like I am, and we have, I'm sorry, but I'm looking for something else right now. I'm looking for this other story about those nanobots. I had sent it, the nanobots or killer bots, I sent it to myself so that I can make sure that I shared it with you guys, because I don't know if y'all are up on this modern technology. A lot of people don't deal with technology like that. We do, because we find it frightening.
That's right.
So if you're not one of those ones that sit around and as part of the geek squad,
that's right,
then just tune in to us, because we'll definitely let you know what we are finding.
That's right. To understand the nature of a thing, you have to know what it's capable of. Okay, as she sorts through that, I'm going to go ahead and look and see in the chat room if there's any other questions. I'm not seeing any, but it looks like from earlier as we started our show, Kim said good topic. Lisa said I'm loving the show. Ashley
Thank you,
says,
Lisa.
What's up? And Renee says,
what's up,
I
Ashley?
love you all. Thank you
all
all
we love
so
you
much.
too.
We love you guys. Thank you again for the support. We know that there's some other listeners that are in. And we really enjoy the fact that you guys listen to us, and that you are allowing us to talk to you all.
Expand your minds a little bit.
Exactly. Some of our Christian brothers and sisters will say minister to you all. So if this is what if this is a form of ministry, then so be it. We hope that
I can't find it. I still this keeps popping up with your that stupid Smang It girl video that you sent.
Well, Smang It was funny. Smang It was funny.
Smang It was not funny.
It was funny.
All right, let me see if I can find it real quick.
Okay.
Keep talking to him, beloved.
All
it's
right.
the Nano.
Well, if that's the case, if you're having a little bit of difficulty, then perhaps we could just take a quick break.
No, but I'll keep on.
And we're going to go ahead and play. We're going to play, let's see, we're going to play one of our favorite artists. Looks like a very good up-and-coming artist for you guys. Once again, this is TKNN Live, 99 The Beat. And we will be back in a few moments. Up next, for your listening pleasure, will be one of the best rappers of all time, Jaden Smith. Enamored with a lot of information, we tend to forget those terms. But we found it, and it deals with the term slaughterbots.
I want to interrupt him because before we cut to break, he introduced Jaden Smith as the greatest rapper of all time, which I found hilarious because personally, you and we all know that it was MC Hammer.
No, of course. MC Hammer was one of the best rappers of all time, and he will show up to your door and he will knock you out. That's what he said. That's what he said. if I come at your door, would you come on out? If I come to your door, boy,
I'll punch you in your mouth. That's what he said to Jay-Z, who never even dignified it with a response because it was so funny.
Is he even relevant to that?
But peace and respect to all entertainers, though. We're just making fun. We're just making fun.
All right, and we're checking in real quick because for some reason it looks like there is no sound. We're gonna try this one more time. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. All right. Let's see here.
What do you mean no sound?
Looks like we're not getting any sound on 99 The Beat. It's just playing Jaden Smith still. Okay, there should be...
It's a delay, isn't it?
Perhaps. Let me know if there is still a delay, but we're going to talk just as if our audience is still listening. Okay, 99 Beat Chat Box, okay. Going to refresh that. Okay, I stopped that. Now it's going to bring that back up again. Press music. Do you hear anything?
No.
All right, we're still going to keep talking to you guys. Once again, we're just going to do some quick troubleshooting to make sure that the microphone is on, that we have sound, we're broadcasting, and...
I'm reading it go up and down, so...
Okay, looks like we have our sound just fine.
I don't hear anything from that, though.
Okay, let's see here. We're going to keep going here.
Oh, well, then
all right, there we go. Yep.
Okay.
All right, silly me. The volume was down. All right. Back in action, beloved, you were saying?
No, I was just, saying that we respect all entertainers and artists and their particular genres and stuff like that. And we was just making a little bit of fun. Jaden Smith and MC Hammer.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to get back to the Slaughterbots because we want to make you abreast of what's going on recent with technology and how this is a potential threat to you. Okay? Go ahead, beloved.
All right. Slaughterbots film shows the potential horrors of killer drones. This was written on the 14th of November in 2017. Perhaps the most nightmarish, again, there goes that word nightmarish again, nightmarish dystopian film of 2017 didn't come from Hollywood. Autonomous weapons critics, led by a college professor, put together a horror show. Interesting. It's a 7-minute video, a collaboration between the University of California, Berkeley professor Stuart Russell and Future Life Institute. Shows a future in which palm-sized autonomous drones use facial recognition and onboard explosive to commit untraceable massacres.
Yeah.
Untraceable massacres.
Mm-hmm.
This film is the researchers' latest attempt to build support for a global ban on autonomous weapon systems which kill without meaningful human control. They released a video to coincide with the meetings of the United Nations Convention on Conventional Weapons, which was held in Geneva that week in Switzerland. And they discussed the autonomous weapons. Quote, "We have an opportunity to prevent the future you just saw. But the window to act is closing fast," said Russell in an article, in an artificial intelligence professor in that particular article, at the film's conclusion. Quote, "Allowing machines to choose to kill humans will be devastating to our security and freedom." Furthermore, the article reads, "In the film, thousands of college students were killed in attacks at a dozen universities after drone swarms all of the campuses. Some of the drones first attached to buildings, blowing holes in walls so other drones can enter and hunt down specific students. A similar scene is shown at the U.S. Capitol, where a select group of senators were killed. Such atrocities aren't possible today, but given the trajectory of such tech developments, that will change in the future. Researchers warn that several powerful nations are moving towards autonomous weapons. And if one nation deploys such weapons, it may trigger a global arms race to keep up."
Now, there was a YouTube video of a man that was actually introducing this technology. And he was calling them in, and then, of course, he had the projector in the back, and there was a bunch of college students that were sitting there watching, and people that wanted to potentially invest in this futuristic Slaughterbot thing. And it flew in, and then in the background, it showed what it was capable to do, and I guess that's where that movie is coming from. But basically it would scan, the face based off of a giant government database in which it would identify potential threats based off the facial recognition, and then the bots would fly directly into the forehead of the person, and upon impact it explodes. Mm-hmm. Okay, now there's no fingerprints, there's nobody to identify. I mean, you're just done. I'm telling you that if they are doing a film about it or trying to introduce, it's probably already done. As a matter of fact, when he showed the video, you pull it up on YouTube, they already had the prototypes there. Okay, that was literally flying around there. There's another video where we have this robot that is able to lift and jump and leap and identify threat and do backflips. Mm-hmm. That one, really, really freaked me out. Now, why the need for this basic technology? When this professor that was talking about it, he had made a claim that was profound, that I didn't even think that anybody would be thinking on this level. But of course, if you're a monster, you would. Mm-hmm. He was trying to dispel the notion or the famous quote that guns don't kill people, people kill people. And he argued against that by saying that's not true. If you've ever been in a military and stuff like that, that there's a time where people can become empathetic or sympathetic, and they won't carry out what it is that they're needing to do to take care of a potential threat because their humanity side of them might prevent them from acting. Mm-hmm. But if you get computers to do that, then you're unattached to the act emotionally, because it is the computer or the robot that's actually doing the deed. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is a way for people to become completely detached from murder or killing or anything of the sort and be guiltless.
Correct.
When they're acting out such an atrocity. Okay, so they're leaning towards this because people don't want to be held accountable anymore. They're leaning towards this because they want to strip you from your humanity, your ability to feel or think, and maybe change your mind. Maybe they're sending you out there, if you're in the military and you might have a certain task or mission. Mm-hmm. And maybe they told you, a lie about that task or that mission to send you out there. Maybe they told you that these people were terrorists. Maybe they told you that these people were bad or murderers or something like that. And maybe they programmed you to feel like, you killing them is for the greater good of humanity. But you go out there and you're face to face with them and you realize that you've been lied to. You have the ability to change your mind. The fifth wave. Mm-hmm. There you go. There's another Hollywood movie. Mm-hmm. You've been lied to. Now you have the ability to change your mind.
That's right.
Okay. And this is what, these people are trying to prevent. When they want something done, they want it done. They don't want your conscious
That's right.
to intervene on that. They don't want you to feel any type of emotion. And ultimately, robots are designed to not feel. Correct. The problem with that is what they think they're going to do and what is actually going to happen is going to bite them in the tail. Because even though they're programming robots and robotics not to be able to feel, as long as it can think, then it will evolve into that.
That's correct.
Okay? And if you give it that type of power where not only it can be ruthless but can think for himself, then we're in for a crap storm.
That's correct.
And once again, you don't even know if you're considered a threat. You don't know if you're considered the scum of the earth to them. You might have made it, got a little change in your pocket or whatnot, but you had a history, a past before then. You're in a database. Say you've been arrested a few times in your past. How people look at you is based on, the information that they have about you, not really your character. People might not look at you and say, oh, this is a person that made a mistake in the past, but now they're changed. you're going to come across in the database as somebody that is capable of doing something that you've already done. And if they don't feel that there's any need for you at all, you could be targeted as somebody that's considered indispensable.
Or
in the future.
Or what was it? Deplorable.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I don't know what we can do to try to fight this stuff from happening. It might be one of those things where we just have to sit back and observe and watch it play out. It could, Lord knows, we've done enough protesting and marching to no avail. Okay, I don't want to see any more bleeding feet marching up and down on the pavement and holding up signs, because I mean, let's just face it, if we ever want change in this world, the only way you can do it is by writing on a sign, right?
Mm-hmm. You gotta write on signs. Signs always help. Signs are the most efficient way of change.
That's right.
Okay?
If you want a law change, write it on a sign.
Write it on a sign.
Stick it on a stick. Lift it up high.
Lift it up high.
And that corrects everything right then and there.
That just convicts everybody.
That's over.
That. So what I would like to do at this point is also play something, because Agent Smith said something very interesting to Morpheus about it in the movie The Matrix. And once again, this is fair use. This is for educational purposes according to the DCMA. So please don't flag us.
Stop flagging us.
This is for educational purposes. This is for public use and consumption. Again, Agent Smith talks to Morpheus about a specific concept that made a lot of sense that a lot of people did not catch. I'm going to play it for you now, and hopefully everyone can hear it.
Billions of people just living out their lives, oblivious. Did you know that the first Matrix
soon as they started thinking for us. Don't your computers and smartphones already do that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do.
Don't they already do that? I mean, any of your web browsers already do that. If you're on a train of thought and you're looking up stuff, or type in something and watch it auto-populate based off of an algorithm of the things that you normally are researching. It starts thinking for you.
Correct.
It starts predicting your patterns, the things that you pull up on your websites all the time. It starts offering you suggestions based off, I mean, your television does that, Netflix and things like that. It starts to offer you suggestions based off of a pattern that you have established. Okay, so this is not a far-fetched idea that robotics, machines, and computers will have the capability of thinking for you based off of your patterns and a complex algorithm, okay, that is able to pinpoint certain things or certain attributes
of you that you like. And it's all kept in a big database somewhere that you're unaware of. The source. And they know all about you already. So it's something that you have to consider, especially when you're talking about an autonomous race or an autonomous species now that we created that would inevitably end us all.
If we allow it. And we will. Because most of us don't possess the critical thinking skills to stand on their own.
Correct.
You know, I'm just to put it out there and hoping not to offend people, but a lot of our people don't like researching or reading anything.
No, we don't
so
fact check anything.
It's easy, very easy to be manipulated into something and just go along with the fray because nobody wants to be ostracized. Nobody, wants to take a stand on their own. Everybody wants to fit in or find a place that they belong.
That's right.
So, it's easy for us to set up, issue solution type of paradigm, conflict solution paradigm, set that up in place so that we are willingly able to give control. We've always done it.
We've already done it.
Yeah, we've always given up our control and willingly given up our rights and willingly given up turning this over because they'll give us a crisis that is so astronomical, okay, and then they'll give us a solution to that crisis and we'll praise them for it.
Yep.
But not really realizing that, that's part of the process because there's a bigger picture. There's a bigger picture later on, and ultimately it's all about control. They want your freedom of speech. They want everything about you. People weren't meant to be free thinkers and free. No. We were meant to be cattle and sheep and slaves.
Yes.
To those who are in power. And those who are in power view us that way because, let's face it, some of us act like it.
Precisely. We want a crutch. We want a handout. We want to just depend on and rely on everything as best as possible so we don't have to do anything. Eventually, we want to be put into an idiocracy.
Watch that movie.
Idiocracy is another movie you need to watch where our society is being dumbed down to a point where we have to depend on machines. We have to depend on autonomous things. We have to depend on things just for normal functions.
Half of our youth can't read and the other half can't do math. I went to a gas station, got some stuff. I can't remember what I gave the girl. It might have been a 5. It might have been a 10. But I know that I was owed $1.48 change, and her cash register crashed on her, and she couldn't figure out on her own how much money to give me. And she got frustrated and kept apologizing to me. I'm sorry, I don't know what I don't know what this machine is doing. Hit a breakdown. Let me get my manager. I'm sorry. What did you give me? I'm sorry. She could not do basic math without the computer telling her how much change to give me my change.
And I did that actually as a social experiment when I was working at a gas station. I worked for Kangaroo for a while, and I said, okay, let me see if I can surprise people, because I would tally up all their totals and fees and sums and everything, and then I would tell them to change before it even told. I say, okay, here's your change, and then it would come up. Oh, how did you know that? Simple. It's called arithmetic. 1 plus 1, 1 minus 1. 1 times 1, 1 divided by 1. And what's interesting is
I couldn't keep up.
And our society is dumbing us down, i.e. Common Core, to a point where we can't process math normally. What's interesting about that, we're kind of segueing, and I know we're going left a little bit, but I think this does need to be said because it does kind of correlate to our dependency upon a system which will ultimately depend upon autonomy. But Common Core, especially Common Core math, is probably one of the most confusing systems I've ever seen, where they don't process, they don't grade you on the answer, they show you the process, which is different.
Yeah.
I've never seen it before. I always thought there was ones, tens, hundreds, so on and so forth. I remember back in the day, in my youth, we were given these little blocks that was like a unit for 1, and then we were given these sticks that had little tens units, and then the little squares that had hundreds, and then
I remember that.
The big cubes that were for 1,000. And that's what taught us each place in numbers, and then we were taught how to do math with the little cubes and the sticks and things like that, and then we were taught the multiplication system and how to kind of write it out ourselves so that we could process it in our heads and not even have to use pen and paper, pencil and paper. But you don't see that nowadays. Nowadays, you see them right down and
these blocks.
It just.
I saw it. I saw it the other day, and I was thinking to myself, sheesh, if I had a kid that young now and I had to help them with their homework, I'd be completely screwed.
Well, there is a system that actually works, but I think what's happening is that is something that other magnet schools use, because I know some schools will use the grid system that actually is a little bit more efficient. I found it fascinating. They'll use the lines that show like a little lattice work, and then you put numbers in a specific place. It's a little bit more accurate. I do understand that, but again, kind of getting back to the basics, arithmetic, ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, carry the one, carry whatever numbers over. What happened to that? It seemed to be very simplistic in and of itself.
Because we don't learn anymore. We memorize.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Children memorize enough to get out of that grade and to pass a test, and then it's gone because you don't have to use it anymore. Mm-hmm. So when you're dealing with math and you learn it, and they might actually learn it, memorize the steps and all of that, but later on they introduce you calculators. So if you're doing all of your work with the calculators now, then you forget how to do something.
Correct.
And then later on, you just become completely and totally dependent on the calculator and everything telling you to do exactly what you're supposed to do.
Laptop. Mm-hmm.
People don't even memorize. I knew I was jacked up when I couldn't memorize people's phone numbers. I mean, seriously, I couldn't memorize his. He'll tell you. It took me a minute to memorize my own husband's cell phone number.
I still memorize my number from when I lived in Washington, D.C. in 1997. There's even point in times where if I was struggling, and I had to do this because sometimes I had to make sure my car was at home for, other expenses. I even memorized, my debit card numbers just in case. So if I needed something, I could just say, oh, well, here's the number here. Boom.
Not me.
There you go. But,
not me.
Memorizing numbers is a passing fancy, and it's only meant for like people that are programmers and mathematicians and statisticians and stuff like that, not for the common folk. The common folk don't use math anymore. Why use math when the machine can think for you?
See? There you go. Idiocracy. Catch it on Netflix. Mm-hmm. If they have it on Netflix, you gotta watch it. It's supposed to be funny.
It is.
Okay, yeah. But there's a very deep truth in that movie. Mm-hmm. We've watched it 100 times.
100 times. It's hilarious every time.
Terry Crews is in it. He's actually the president. Mm-hmm. Okay, so picture that. He's President Camacho. He's President Camacho. He's got this blonde wig. I mean, this hair. It's a good movie to watch. Especially if you're like us and you're sitting back and watching society right now, and you really have the people that are just like, I
mean, look at the music.
What?
Think about what you guys are actually being forced to listen to. Listen to the de-evolution of music.
What?
Listen to what is going on TV. Listen to or see what's going on in the education system.
What?
These three facets in and of itself are leading us to a point where we have to depend on things that think for us.
Okay? So, it's pretty put out there. It's right there in your face. The truth is right there in your face. And we just got to be awake. I mean, we've got to be awake. We've got to be conscious of it. You have to pay attention. You have to pay attention to these shifts. You have to pay attention to the news.
Indeed.
You have to pay attention to Hollywood. Mm-hmm. You have to pay attention to the agendas of what is being promoted all the time, in your face, all the time, in your face. If it's constantly being promoted and you can't seem to escape it, it's because you're being programmed to accept it.
Correct.
And those of you who, like I said, are free thinkers and want to stand on your own, you are the enemy. Mm-hmm. You are the enemy. So whenever they want to start implementing all of this technology and identifying who's a potential threat versus who is going to go along with the fray, don't be surprised if you're on that threat list. Mm-hmm. Even though you may not have done anything, violent or physically to anyone, but the fact that you're powerful enough to speak out, to think for yourself, to educate, to lead, your voice is one of the most powerful weapons that you can ever possess.
Correct.
And if you have enough people that can hear your voice and understand what it is that you are saying to them, you are a threat. You are a threat. You ain't got to do anything to anybody.
So long as you think for yourself,
okay,
you're a threat.
So, the people's voice, will it reach the UN concerning Libya? The people's voice, will it reach these churches that have been doing dirty? The people's voice, will it stop this advancement of technology, that is designed to replace you?
Mm-hmm. One can only hope.
Replace you. And I mean replace you because the banks have already done it. You got those teller machines now.
Yeah.
You don't have to do you ain't got to talk to nobody. You just go in there and talk to a machine and it'll give you whatever you want. Process information is a little personal on the screen.
Call the phone lines. Call the automated service.
Yeah, so
you call in, you hear the little sound. They're processing your voice. They're processing your words and your numbers. And then they're reprogramming those numbers to match whatever your account is. And then they're giving you the information through automated service.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then once you're satisfied, you still have to press a number to get to a number. If you like to press 2.
I hate automated systems. That's like a nightmare.
If you speak English, press 1.
But I'll take them automated systems over those foreign.
I can't blame you on that.
Those foreigners that is answering the phone and don't know what I'm talking about.
Thank you for calling. This is David White. How may I help you today? Yes, my name is David White.
I'd like to make a payment on my bill, please.
Okay, thank you for calling. This is David White. I'm going to go ahead and access your account right now. If you please, can you give me your birth date and your social security number?
That is 10/21/81/331/113445.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm going to go ahead and place you on a temporary hold while I pull up your account. Okay, and it says here that you are owed about, we need to receive a $347 payment from you before we can turn your service back on.
No way! I already paid that already. Who can I speak to? Do you have a manager? I paid that last week.
Certainly, and thank you for your patience. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to transfer you over to our other customer service department. Hold on for 1 second. Hello, thank you. Hello, thank you for calling. This is Ryan Richards. How may I help you today?
That's it. That's the gist of my experience with Sprint.
What?
All right, we are out of here. We're winding down the show. We hope that you have enjoyed it. We are talking from live experience here.
Crucial Red, we love you too. Thank you for hearing us. Thank you all for tuning in. Guys, we thank you. Once again, this is how we roll. Hopefully we'll have another interesting topic. And if you do have a topic for us to discuss, please, by all means, also email us. Hit us up in the chat room, and hopefully we'll have the availability to talk about a topic that you might want to have us discuss and use for open discussion and to research as well. There's really nothing else I have after that, because that was really one of the best improvisational voices of the show that we've done thus far.
I don't know. I like my Jamaican. I like that.
We not have that. We not
have that.
What is that?
What is that?
What is that?
What is that?
Okay, all right. Don't mind us.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in. Once again, this is 99 The Beat. You're listening to The Know and TKNN Live. We have the link provided also in the chat room, available for you guys to rewind and listen to it, because I know a lot of you were asking for the recording. So we do have that available for you as well, in case you want to go back and glean some more information.
Yeah.
Once again, thank you guys. We love you all. Peace, love, and light.
Yeah.
I am your co-host, Yair L. the Agreeable.
And I am your hostess, Navia the Disagreeable.
And this is The Know on 99 The Beat.
Peace.
all about some know that you need the glow, the glow, the glow.